What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzly homer, Memphis X, and I talk hoops. Today, we are entering the NBA draft week, and I am about to drop my 2023 NBA draft board for the Memphis Grizzlies. But first, every hero needs their theme music.
KeyAno.
Grizz gang, go hard. Baddest in the game, we be on one. I talk hoops so secure. All up on the court, but we gon' score. Memphis bringing heat straight from Tennessee. Diamond respect and let's go, boy. He that MVP.
Honestly, it was about 25 days between my last video and the news about Ja Morant's suspension dropping. So I'm going to take that as a good sign. I have taken a big step back from making videos, of course, as you can see. But that was just to get my head in the game because I was kind of frustrated after the second Ja Morant incident. I ain't going to lie. And I knew he was going to miss some time. So I really didn't want to talk about it. But 25 games with an appeal maybe pending, it is what it is. But now we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming, Talking Hoops. And today I am going to talk to you about the 2023 NBA Draft. It is draft week, one of the best times of the year. The next month is going to be nonstop action in the NBA, action, news, summer league, everything. So we're going to have a hot and heavy month, maybe a month and a half, and then we're going to have a cold 2 months to get our minds together again. So probably up until that time, until we kind of get settled, I'm going to probably start going back to my daily videos as long as I have the time, at least until my grad course starts. So it is what it is, but we're going to get to it. First, we're going to start with my honorable mention. This is going to be a top 30 board for the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm going to give you my 5 honorable mentions, the 5 guys that didn't quite make the cut of the top 30. First, we have Trace Jackson Davis of Indiana, 6'9", center, power forward, very good offensive player, should be a fixture in somebody's NBA rotation as a scoring big off the bench. Does have some limitations as he's a one-handed kind of scorer, and it's probably easy to figure out. Next up, we have Julian Phillips from the University of Tennessee, a 6'7" wing, defensive wing. He does have some good shooting potential, but just didn't quite make the cut, even though I do like him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's taken in the first round. Next, we have Andre Jackson from the national champions University of Connecticut, the UConn Huskies. Andre Jackson is a 6'7" combo guard, do-it-all guy. Well, do it all but shoot. If this guy could shoot at all, he would probably be a lottery pick. Phenomenal athlete, phenomenal passer, phenomenal defender. I think I really like him, and if he could shoot, I would be all over him. Next, we have Brandon Pajemski. He's a guy that's risen up the boards lately, had a very, very nondescript freshman season in the Big Ten, but he moved to Santa Clara and had a very, very good season, and a lot of people like him. I have some reservations about him, especially his defense and his ability to create separation, but he was a very, very, very productive college player, and he does also have a chance to go in the first round. And the final honorable mention candidate is Kobe Jones. I like Kobe Jones. He's a 6'5" combo guard, sort of in the DeLon Wright category. I think he's going to be a little bit better shooter than DeLon Wright. Might not quite be the defender that DeLon Wright is, but I think he's one of those do-it-all combo guards that you can get by with instead of employing a smaller backup point guard. So those are my 5 honorable mentions. Now, let's get to the top 30. And we're going to go from 30 to number 1. So, at number 30, we have Jordan Walsh from the University of Arkansas. Now, if you remember my preseason draft coverage, he is one of my favorite prospects in the draft. And he's probably one of the few guys that I rated highly despite his shooting problem, because everything else about him, sort of like Andre Jackson, but I think Jordan Walsh has more shooting potential than Andre Jackson. And I started looking, the only reason I raised him up to 30, because I had him a bit lower at first, is I started envisioning him playing the Draymond Green role for a team. That sort of small ball forward, possibly small ball center as he gets stronger. He has the length of a center. He has the arms of a center, and he is a very versatile defender, and he's a very, very good passer and ball mover. If he can even become an average shooter in the NBA, he is going to be a high-impact player. Love his defense, love his intensity, one of my favorite players in this draft class. At number 29, we have James Naji. He is a 6'9"-ish, 6'10" center, very long arms. I think he has a 7'5" wingspan. He is playing in the EuroLeague, has been productive and getting playing time in the EuroLeague. And for me, that is always an indication of a player who's going to find his way in the NBA. I look for him. He's not one of my favorite kind of players, but I figure he's going to be a productive backup center for somebody. One of those guys who's a backup center that might fall out of the rotation during the playoffs. Number 28, we have G.G. Jackson, the University of South Carolina, the youngest player in the draft. Of course, he is fighting off the rumors that he is the infamous prospect that was caught vaping after a workout. But, I can never, hasn't been, revealed yet. Probably won't get revealed till after the draft. But to me, he is very athletic. As I said, he's the youngest guy in the draft. He has good size for a combo forward. Very, very good foot movement, especially on offense. His defense and his ability to play within an offense is to be questioned, along with his attitude. But I think he has a lot of potential, and I think he is a surefire first-round pick just due to his potential and his age. At number 27, we have Olivier Maxence Prosper, or Omax, 6'8" power forward from Marquette. A defensive combo forward with a lot of potential, late riser, started rising after the NBA draft combine. Very athletic, not the best shooter, but he has some good shooting potential. Should be one of those 6'8" combo forwards that a lot of teams are looking for to add to their bench, to add to their playoff rotation. Number 26, we have Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine. Maxwell Lewis is a 6'7" wing, very good shooter, not too keen on the creation and the defense, but like I said, I think he's just about 20 years old, so he has a lot of potential still left. He was able to probably explore a little bit too much of the studio space as a primary scorer for Pepperdine, and will probably fit better in a 3-and-D role for a team. And for me, he reminds me of a shorter, smaller Trey Murphy from the New Orleans Pelicans. At number 25, we have Noah Clowney for the University of Alabama. 6'10", power forward center. He is 18 years old, I do believe. He is what you call a 3-and-D prospect, even though he shot less than 35% from three-point range as a freshman. But his form looked good. His defense is okay. He really excels in chase down blocks on defense, but not so much in the half court. But like I said, 18 years old, he's got a lot to learn. He is a long-term prospect. At number 24, I got Jalen Hood Shafino. And this is probably lower than most people are going to have Jalen Hood Shafino. He is a 6'6" combo guard from Indiana. Very good in the pick and roll. And the reason why I have him ranked so low is I've had to notice that in draft, the high pick and roll guys like Jalen Hood Shafino who do not have the athleticism or scoring ability to be a primary guy in the NBA really have to learn how to be an effective contributor on offense. But I think he'll get it together sooner or later. And I think the primary thing that most people like about him is about his primary scoring ability. It's the thing that he's not really going to be able to do in the NBA, or he's not going to be allowed to do in the NBA. And I think he's going to be mainly used as a combo guard off the bench. 23, we have Chris Murray from Iowa. Chris Murray, of course, is a twin brother of Keegan Murray. Look just identical. The games are very similar, except Chris Murray is a little less athletic and a little bit less dynamic, but he is a very good shooter. I thought somebody should have promised him last season to get him in the late first round and get him in their system, but he came back. Still was a late first-round pick, a little older than the normal prospect. He'll be about 22 and a half, 23 years old almost when the season starts. But I think he's going to be one of those guys that fits nicely into a combo forward role as a 3-and-D player. He's going to shoot, I believe, from the beginning, going to be able to defend from the beginning. He's going to be one of those guys that you can just plug and play, and he'll get stuff done. At 22, I have Nick Smith Jr., point guard, combo guard out of Arkansas. Now, Nick Smith, of course, had a lot of injuries his freshman year at Arkansas. If he was a little bit more point guardish, I would have him higher. But these combo guards that really don't have the strength to, overpower defenders, I think he's going to really struggle initially in the NBA. And the one thing that does for you is hard to get playing time if you're going to struggle to shoot and you're going to struggle to defend because coaches are not going to want to play you. And it's going to be hard for him to develop, especially without that defensive aspect going on. But he's one of the highest rated high school prospects coming into the season. So there's a lot of potential there for Nick Smith to be a high contributor in 2 to 3 seasons. At number 21, we have Ryan Rupert, shooting guard from the NBL. One of my favorite prospects coming into this draft. He did not disappoint. The shooting was not as good as possible, but he was dealing with injuries in the NBL. And if we've learned anything about following the NBL and pro prospects in the NBL, the shooting percentages are not indicative of shooting potential. It is very hard for young guys to get their shooting up in pro leagues with the longer lines and things like that, the longer three-point lines. But Ryan Rupert was an excellent defender, was able to carve out a starting position on a team that was championship level in the NBL, and that's something that Josh Giddey and LaMelo Ball were not able to do. And he was a very good defender in the NBL, something else that Josh Giddey and LaMelo Ball wasn't able to do. His history of being a point guard and his ball handling ability gives me some hope that he is going to be an on-ball guy, but even if not, his defense, he's going to be able to be an on-ball defender with his long arms, quick feet, and ability to move laterally. as a prospect. Should be able to defend 1 through 4 eventually, and I look for him to make an impact in a couple of years. Still a raw prospect, but like I said, has a lot of potential, and his defense will probably get him on the court sooner than later. 20, we have Jed Howard from Michigan. Jed Howard, of course, is the son of Juwan Howard, one of the Fab Five, legendary Fab Five. Juwan Howard will always have a place in basketball history with that group. But Jed Howard, his son, also made his mark at the University of Michigan. Now, he did struggle on defense, and people are knocking him for his lack of athleticism and his inability to defend. And, that's a problem. But what I really knock him for is his inability to rebound at 6'8" as a shooting guard. And that's probably what his primary position is going to be, shooting guard, maybe some wing. But he's going to have to get a lot stronger and going to have to crack down on the rebounds. But as a movement shooter and facilitator, he should be able to get some playing time very early in the NBA. And hopefully his pedigree will let him learn the NBA game and be able to become an acceptable average defender in the NBA. Number 19, we got Jordan Hawkins from the national champion UConn Huskies again. Jordan Hawkins is a 6'4", 6'5" shooting guard, one of the better three-point shooters in his draft, probably the best movement three-point shooter in his draft because he's able to do it going left and going right off the catch. His defense leaves something to be desired, but I think he has a lot more potential than given credit for off-the-dribble scoring if he can get his finishing up at the rim. But hopefully he got some hidden athleticism in his game that NBA conditioning and workouts can untap later in his career. At 18, I got Derek Lively II, center from Duke. Derek Lively is a 7'2" defensive dynamo. Now, people like to compare him to Walker Kessler. He's not quite the prospect Walker Kessler was because the thing I liked about Walker Kessler is he was a big man that did big man things around the rim. One of my favorite prospects from the last draft, and he has proven himself in the NBA. Derek Lively is a different kind of prospect. He's probably going to take a little bit longer. You have to remember Walker Kessler came out after his sophomore season. Derek Lively is coming out after his first season. So he's probably going to take a little bit longer to develop and be able to contribute on the court. But he has the potential to be a very good defender. He won't have the offensive capabilities of a Walker Kessler, very low usage guy. People were enthralled about his workouts, shooting three-pointers. But he's been a low usage guy his entire career, so I'm not really moved as much as everybody else is by his three-point shots during workouts. Number 17, we got Bilal Kulu. I'm going to mess that up for a while. But he is a 6'7", 6'8" combo guard. That's how I see him. I see him as a combo guard who played with Victor Wembanyama in France. He is a late riser. Some people have him in the lottery. Some people even have him in the top 10. I was on him early as far as one of my favorite prospects, but I think the consensus had went a little too far in ranking him and moving him up to, the top 10 lottery position. I think he has a little issues to go with being a creator off the ball. And I call him the 6'7", DeAnthony Melton, and I think that's kind of the role he's going to play. His added length might let him be able to play more as a wing, where DeAnthony Melton kind of struggles as far as carving out a starting role in the NBA because DeAnthony Melton is not creative enough to be the starting shooting guard, not dynamic enough to be the starting point guard, and not big enough to be your starting small forward. But he can relieve you in all three positions. Hopefully, Bilal will be able to use his size to be able to carve out a position as a starter. At number 16, we got Leonard Miller from the G League Ignite. I think one of the most underrated prospects in this draft. I probably have him a little bit too low for me, but that's only because of his shooting. But I think that, I put him in the vein of the Andre Jacksons and Jordan Walshes of the draft. Very great defensive players who have like the weakness of shooting, but I think Leonard Miller has the most correctable shooting of the three because his shooting is very much something that you can correct with his footwork and his balance and things like that through repetition and training. So hopefully the team that he gets drafted by has a plan in place for correcting that shooting, because other than that, he is a very high-intense defender. He loves to rebound. He is one of my top prospects for the Grizzlies to trade up for, because I think he pairs nicely with Jaren Jackson Jr. due to his dynamic ability to rebound the basketball. He has the length of a center, and he has the quickness of a wing. So, listen, he is one of my favorite prospects for my Memphis Grizzlies to trade up for in this draft. At number 15, also from the G League Ignite, we have Sidy Cissoko, who has been out of favor with most mainstream mocks, but he's still one of my favorite guys in this draft. Of course, I have him almost in the lottery as far as the rankings on the draft board. Sissoko is a 6'7", 6'8" wing. He plays with a lot of intensity, pretty good defender, pretty good offensive player. I think he's going to be one of those jack-of-all-trade wings. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be a primary guy. He's going to be a guy that plays that position where you put him out there. He's not going to be your first, second, or even your third option, but he's going to be a guy that's capable of making shots, attacking closeouts, attacking the glass, defending sometimes even the best player, sometimes defending power forwards due to his size and bulk and strength, and always giving you 100% every time he steps on the court. I think his ability to handle the ball is getting greatly underrated in this draft cycle, but I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be able to play the 2 through 4 and be productive for a team almost immediately. Very good player in G League last year. Number 14, we got Derek Whitehead from Duke. 6'7" shooting guard. Of course, he was plagued with injuries this year. One of the top guys coming into this season. Even though he was plagued with injuries and didn't have his athleticism, was still able to carve out a very productive role as an off-ball shooter and floor spacer, shooting over 40% from three-point range at Duke. Of course, he's hurt now, so he's probably going to fall a little bit lower than this in the draft. But if I was a team, I would bet on his upside and bet on modern medicine being able to get him back real close to his original athleticism. I think he's going to be a very, very good player in the NBA. And at worst, he'll be a very competent 3-and-D wing. At number 13, this is probably one of the biggest surprises as far as where the other big boards are going right now. I have Bryce Sensabaugh, 6'8" forward out of Ohio State. Probably, to me, the best scorer in this draft. Simply is a very elite 3-level scorer, able to get to the rim, mid-range, and shoot from 3. He could carve out himself as a simple floor spacer, as a 3-point shooter in the vein of a Luke Kennard, because his shooting is elite, able to shoot under duress, has the size and thickness to be able to get past defenders with his strength. The only thing is his defense has been abysmal, and he's not in the greatest of condition. Very big guy. You can see him on the picture. He's thick, but I think he has some athleticism under there that once an NBA team gets him in their program in a couple of years, people are going to be wondering how this guy fell with all the offensive tools that he displayed as a freshman at Ohio State University. At number 12, I get Cason Wallace, point guard, University of Kentucky. I put him in the Marcus Smart mode of point guards. He's not going to be one of your dynamic point guards creating and stuff off the dribble in the Chris Paul fashion, but he's going to be a good game manager, good defender, able to contribute across the board, able to provide some spacing with his shooting. He is just going to be a jack of all trades, do it all kind of guy that's going to be able to contribute as a combo guard and even function as most teams' primary point guard if he has to. Number 11, Anthony Black, University of Arkansas. Anthony Black, I probably have him lower than everybody else, and you know the reason why. Not only can he not shoot, he is a very low volume guy, and I do not like that. I don't think teams like to have low volume guys as their primary ball handler. And if he's not going to be a primary ball handler, that means he's going to be a wing defender or a specialty point of attack defender. And so I think he has a lot of mindset changes to go through as far as being able to shoot and being able to generate shot attempts. That is something that is hard to overcome as from a mindset point of view. So I'm really rooting for him, but I like to see a little bit higher volume for anybody who I'm going to put as a primary ball handler in the NBA. Number 10, we have Ausar Thompson, the first of the Thompson twins. Definitely lower than most people got him. I have him as a wing. I think he's going to be very combo-ish, just like his brother. He's going to be able to play 1 through 3, maybe some 4 later on once he gets stronger. But I think he's very dynamic athletically. He's going to eventually be a good defender. But the shooting is the question. If he was an average shooter right now, he'd probably be in the top 5. But he's not, so this is where he lands on my draft. Number 9, we have Kobe Buffkin from Michigan. I don't even know what to say about this guy. I think he is definitely, to me, the second best point guard in this draft. As far as just guys that can play the point, I think he's going to be a very good point guard for some team that snatches him up. I think he might take over the point guard position as early as his rookie season. If he wasn't so skinny, I would have him ranked higher. I really feel that people miss that part of athleticism with his strength and size. So he has a lot of work, as you can see from the picture. He has a lot of work to do on his body, but it reminds me of Ja Morant when he came in, and I figured like Ja Morant, in 2 years, he'll be plenty strong enough to do what he wants to do on the court. And with that superior finishing and all that, he is going to be able to make things happen in the NBA. Very good shooter, able to run pick and roll. I mean, it's really nothing you can do nothing you can say bad about Kobe Buffkin. He is going to be a very good player in my eyes. At number 8, we have Amen Thompson, the other Thompson twin, combo guardish. I don't really see him as a true point, but I think he's going to be able to play point. He has played point most of his career next to his brother. But, it's easier to play these things when you have, the two of the best prospects on your team at all times. But like I said, he's been productive even when playing against Euro-level talent, that his age level. So he is probably going to be productive in the NBA eventually. But like I said, I have him ranked here because of the shooting. I'm dinging everybody for shooting because I've seen how important it is in the NBA playoffs, and I'm just not going to assume that everybody's going to become an average or an above-average shooter, especially when they have very few indicators that say they're going to be an average or an above-average shooter. At number 7, we have Grady Dick from Kansas. Man, what can I say? An elite shooting prospect, and those guys are hard to find. Not very dynamic off the dribble, of course, but he should be a very, very, very good shooter. He is going to be a fit on any team, any system. Every team can use a guy like him. Very good, even finishing at the rim. Going to be able to attack closeouts. He's going to punish teams. Going to force teams to stick a man on him and space out the floor like all great shooters do. You're not going to be able to leave him alone at all. At number 6, we have Greivis Walker from University of Houston. 6'8" combo forward, very thick, very physical. Well, very physical on defense. Should be a good defender. I see him maybe in the Draymond Green role too. Maybe, he can play that role, a small ball center, but he is lacking a little length in that department. But he should be able to, run that same system at the power forward position. And, at lower levels, he was more dynamic off with the ball in his hands. So maybe he has that still in him. Maybe he hasn't gotten too thick for that to still be a part of his game. But like I said, I like him as a prospect. At number 5, we have Taylor Hendricks from the University of Central Florida. Real good 3-and-D combo forward prospect with the size and length to be a small ball center. Should be able to play this role almost immediately. He's going to need to get stronger, but like I said, he has the frame to get bigger, and he is already an accomplished guy who can attack closeouts, shoot off the dribble. His shot looks good. He's a very good rim protector. I think he is one of those guys because one of the hardest things in the NBA is to find competent three-point shooting from your bigs, and I think he can provide that from the power forward position for a team. That's why I have him so high. I think it's one of those things that people overlook as far as how hard it is to get a real shooter at the 4 or 5 position. At number 4, we have Cam Whitmore from Villanova. I almost ended up putting him at 3, but this is where I'm going to keep him right now. This is my final board, so this is where he will stay. Cam Whitmore, one of the most dynamic athletes as far as punishing the rim through dunks and stuff like that. Not the most dynamic as far as lateral quickness, but I think he has a very good chance of, working on that. His feet are a little heavy, but I think he's going to be a very competent shooter. I think he's going to be a very good offensive player. It's going to be hard because I don't know if he's more of a combo forward or a tweener forward, and it's hard to say right now because of his lack of length that he might end up being more of a tweener forward and not being able to find the right position to be able to defend as a forward. Might not be quick enough for the elite small forwards or big enough for the elite power forwards. At number 3, of course, we have Brandon Miller, 6'9", combo forward from the University of Alabama, elite three-point shooting prospect. Had some trouble finishing at the rim, but he's a very good defender, very good passer, does just about everything on the court, just does not have the elite athleticism or burst that you would want from a top prospect. But other than that, very productive and projects to be a very, very high-level three-point shooter. And just like we said about Taylor Hendricks, finding guys who you can play at power forward that can shoot at an elite level is something that should not be underestimated. These guys are very, very valuable, especially in playoff basketball, as you can see from this last playoff season. At number 2, we have Scoot Henderson from the G League Ignite, 6'3", point guard, very dynamic player. Would be the number 1 pick in almost every other draft except the ones with elite, bigger prospect. Of course, there's a generational prospect in this draft. So he had, after that Ignite game where Wembanyama exploded as a player, he had no chance to be the number 1 pick. No team would be able to pass on Wembanyama. But other than that, Scoot Henderson is one of the best prospects, best point guard prospects I've seen. Probably since the best point guard prospect I've seen since Jason Kidd. Of course, we've had some good ones come through, but he is what I would say is elite. Very good on the pick and roll. He got the size, the strength, and these huge ass hands that allows him to manipulate the ball. He is going to be crazy with NBA spacing. If they get him around some shooters, man, it's going to be just like how Ja Morant affects the game. But instead of doing it with an elite burst and explosion, he's going to do it with the burst and strength. Most teams are going to have to put bigger guys on him just due to his strength, and that is going to warp defenses. And I think he's going to be a very, very good shooter eventually from three-point range. And, of course, at number 1, we have Victor Wembanyama, 7'6", 8-foot wingspan, the most crazy prospect you have ever seen, ever. I told everybody he reminds me of what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would be if Kareem came up in an age where there was three-point shooting and big men were allowed to be as dynamic. Now, we always know we don't know what the outcome is going to be on any prospect, but this guy is generational. There's no two ways about it. There's no dings you can put on him. He has offense off the dribble. He plays with intensity. He plays with intelligence. He plays with physicality. Even though he's slim, he's the best defensive prospect in the draft, and he's probably the most complete offensive prospect in the draft, as he has some post game, off the dribble game, spot up game, capable passer. There is very little that he can't do on the court. The Spurs have got a great one on their hands, and like everybody else, I hope he stays healthy. So there you have it. That is my 2023 Grizzlies big board for the NBA draft. Let me know what you disagree with, what you agree with, and who is your one prospect that you want the Grizzlies to take in this draft.